Welcome, Kira Lotus, to the Well Me podcast. I'm happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to start off by just kind of giving a little snapshot of you and who you are. You've been with Well Me for a couple of years now as a meditation practitioner, yoga teacher, and I know you do a lot of other things as well. So I'd like to ask you, first of all, who was Kira before she found yoga, before she found meditation?
That's a good question, which feels like was a completely different life and feels like was completely different energy. I think that before I found yoga, I was a scared child with a lot of sufferings, I would say like this. And I think that the main reason why I got attracted to yoga and to Buddhism at that time was that it was answering on the question, why suffering? Yeah, so I think this is something I was asking myself a lot when I was about 15, 16 years old. It was, I think, the peak of my suffering because I started understanding also more of what's going on around me. And I think the main question was why all the other kids around are kind of more or less happy. They have in their life, they start having their dates, they do what they do. And I was in a very poor health. I was continuously in hospitals and going through very painful procedures all the time. And also my relationship with my family were very bad because I was very scared of relationships altogether with my family. My relationships with guys, with men were also very weird. And I didn't really have any friends at that time. So at some point, everything became so dark and depressive. And I think my first meeting with all those philosophies happened when I again understood that I need to go to hospital again. And I'm going to go through the same thing. So I think it was the peak of my suffering at the moment because I realized that I have to go through those painful procedures again. And again, it's going to be a lot of isolation because if I go for the hospital, I will not see other students for another 3 weeks. I'm going to be alone and with my, emotional, physical conditions. And at the time I was like, okay, let's find the answers. So I think that was the moment when intention inside of me sharpened to the degree that I knew I'm going to find the answer. And this is where things shifted, I think.
How did you find yoga or meditation first, and how did it actually?
Actually, I think at that time already I had a phone with me, and there was a very basic internet at that time because it was a long time ago. And I thought that at that time I never heard anything about psychosomatic, how the body and the mind and emotions are connected. So there was no literature or knowledge about this. But I was sitting with myself and thinking, if every other child now in my school is happy having their time and I'm going through these hardships, there has to be a reason. Maybe what I'm experiencing physically is related to my emotional and mental states. Maybe there is a connection. Maybe that's why I'm going through this. And I remember I just typed on Google, or whatever it was at that time, a relation of emotions and the body, like connection, and see if there is like correlation. And the first book I found was written by a Russian priest and doctor, and the name was something like Love Your Disease, it tries to tell you something important, something like this. So I downloaded that book. I read it from beginning till the end. It was a big book, but like in 1 week. And it just was book full of, I was crying so much, so many tears. It just, everything suddenly started making sense because he was explaining how the body, how the mind, they are connected together, how your diseases and everything what you experience is a result of the suppression that you put on your emotions. And then basically second part of his book was dedicated to specific illnesses and which emotions trigger that. So I found my disease that I had at that time. I read it, resonated 100%. And under each section, he was given techniques that you need to do to heal disease, basically. What emotionally you need to do, what emotionally you need to discharge so this disease to go away. So I did it. And I swear to you, since then, I never, ever had that disease. It disappeared. It's vanished. And then it gave me such a strong, it was such a polarity. I went from so much minus to absolutely up. And that it gave me this 100 belief inside that those things are connected. Something is there that I don't know. Something is there that no one talks about. These doctors, they just given some antibiotics, but they're not watching the whole system and stuff. So after that, I started learning and looking for systems which connect mind and body together, because I wanted to learn more. How is it correlated with each other? What's going on? Things like this. And then basically I met yoga later on in a way, also a little bit randomly, but at the same time I was looking for that. My ex-partner, my first boyfriend, invited me to a morning yoga class just to try. And then I just went there and I fell in love with it. So there was this recognition of like, again, things came together, mind, body, things are together. And this is where I was like, okay, I want to know more. I want to dive deeper. I want to like go to the next level, basically. Yeah, that was the journey.
I find it really interesting that you had an intuitive inkling to Google connection between the body and the mind. And I think, for me, I've kind of come to see that truth is not something we really learn. It's more about something that we recognize. So something in you already had that sense, yeah. And then you found something that confirmed it and expanded on it, and you recognized the truth in it. So is that kind of how your whole journey with yoga and meditation has been? The more you learn, the more of this intuitive recognition that you find?
I would say yes. Somehow I was really trusting my inner feeling. Like if every time I would feel like this spark, I would just follow it. Like I knew that it's going to bring me to something good. So for example, with yoga, when I went to my first yoga class, it was like this feeling that I never had before. Like I recognized it. Like there was a feeling like I came home. Like it's something that I've already done for so long. I didn't know at that time anything about, past lives, reincarnations. It was not so much still in my brain, but there was a feeling like, wow, like that's just me. It's my life. And when I was in the Shavasana, the final pose, when you lie down, when you relax, I just closed my eyes and I saw that all my life is going to be connected to yoga. It just came to me like I knew that that's the way. And I just need to start walking it. So after the class, I came to my yoga teacher from that class, and I asked her, give me everything you know about yoga. I want to read it. I want to know it. So it was just a kind of even obsession in a way at the time. Like I just wanted to know everything I can about this. And I started reading like all the books I could find about yoga. Was just like one after another, trying to dive and try to understand what's that about, what it means, what's behind all those forms that we're doing. So it was just, like a feeling, I just absolutely want to know it. And it was not hard, because when you have so much motivation and wanting to do it, it's just it's a joyful effort, right? So I was just feeling I'm in it all the time. And And there were like some, let's say, challenges on the way. For example, my parents was the challenge number one. They didn't want me to do that. They wanted me to study at university, to be a good student, to pursue a certain career. They were seeing me like in a very different like corporate world things. And then they were so scared when I would go and chant mantras somewhere for several hours, or like, doing some kirtans or meeting with my yogi friends. So they were trying to talk me out of that idea, like that I'm doing something wrong and that I should just go to circus or something like this, But then I would be feeling that, like they're worrying. It's like their beliefs, and it's like something they believe in. But I just was feeling that's right, and I'm just going to make it. So I never stepped away, let's say, from that, even though sometimes it was hard. Yeah.
So your parents wanting you to take a different path, the more kind of logical, practical, rational, safe path. You did end up studying, right, at university. So I'm curious how you found yoga and meditation to impact your studies.
I feel like my studies, they were just a ticket for me to go abroad and to be a little bit more free, because I was learning Chinese at that time in my Russian university. And then I was able to win a scholarship studies on a master's degree in China. So basically I was feeling that for me to dive fully in what I want to dive, I need to be away from my family nest, from my country, from all those conditions which are around so much, which just don't give me enough time and space and opportunities to dive in it fully. So they don't stand over me, watching me, what I'm doing right or wrong, but that I can be fully in my space and fully embrace it. So I think that my studies, they kind of opened for me the path to go in that space where I was able to stay by myself. I was studying, so I was keeping learning Chinese. It was interesting, Chinese culture and their philosophy. I loved it, so it was part of journey as well. But more than that, it just gave me really my time to dive in all those practices that I wanted. So it was a lot of yoga, it was a lot of meditation that I met a little later. A lot of spiritual practices, a lot of reading. So I could be fully in that field by myself. So I was really enjoying that.
So your first yoga practice was you were 15 or 16?
No, I was 18 years
18?
old. Mm-hmm.
So how long did it take you to go get a teacher certification?
Actually, I went because my practice, I was ready, like physically I was quite ready because I was dancing for many years before that. So my body was open in that sense. And then my first TTC I did when I was 19 years old, so about 1 year after. And actually at the time when I went there, I was not planning to become a yoga teacher. I just wanted to learn everything I could about yoga around me. And then I saw that there is this TTC I can make, and then I'm going to give me all the information about it from all the teachers, and that I'm going to meet a community of people who are thinking the same way. And this is what I wanted, because I was feeling very alone at that time, because all my friends from school, my family, they were not there. And then I was feeling like, oh my God, I'm so interested in those things, but I can't even share with anyone because they just don't support me. They don't understand. They don't want to hear. And then it was such an opening when I went to this training, and there were like another 30 people, and they were all like me. And we spoke the same language. They liked the same things. We all were at the time vegetarian, because all the rest of people were just like, who are you? Why are you doing that? And then, we kind of had the similar experience in the practices. And I was just feeling like, oh, such a relief that I'm not alone anymore in this world. So that was my first TTC. I received the certification, but I was still not really teaching, like maybe sometimes here and there, but the teaching practice came a little later.
How did it come?
The reason why I was not teaching is because I was feeling I'm not ready, because yoga for me was something, wow, so big and holy and like this. And I was still feeling I'm so small and I still don't understand anything kind of feeling. And I would be feeling that I need to go through certain experiences first to be able to transmit to people what I really want to deliver. And I think that several meditation retreats is something which filled up my inner space. Because yoga for me was like, I learned a lot about forms. I knew about asanas and postures and stuff. But I was feeling like I cannot to give people like this spiritual contents. Like there is nothing for me to give because I'm so suffering by myself still. There's still so many things going on. There is like so much confusion inside of me. And when I went through more like a meditation retreats, this space inside cleared up. I could feel like I found my center. I kind of know now a little bit more who I am, or that there is no I, but there is a feeling of the center. Yeah, not for now. But there is this feeling of centeredness, that I can collect my energy, I can hold myself, I can deliver this energy, I can play with energies within myself, and I can give to people what I want to give. So I started feeling like this internal confidence that just grew up. And one day when I returned from one of the temples back to China, to the dormitory where I lived at the same time, 3 people in one day asked me to teach them. And I took it as a sign because it never happened before. But the people from the dorm talked to me about what happened to me, and they got so inspired, and they were like, teach me that. And I was like, okay. And I felt like I'm ready. There is something I can actually give to them. So that's how I started.
So you felt this initiation.
Yeah, something shifted and the universe just asked me and responded. And I was like, okay, the universe is calling, I can go.
I love that. Yeah, a lot of times I try to wait for signs to appear before I take an action.
And I was feeling like I would be stepping in this, not from the ego, like now I'm ready to teach, I'm a great teacher, but it was feeling like just aligned. I was feeling I'm getting ready, and the space also told me, you're ready.
Beautiful. So can you dive a little more into that connection of meditation and yoga? So you talked about the inner space that opened up within you through meditation. How does that connect to a yoga practice?
So traditionally, if you know, with the Eightfold Path, there is the suttas written by Patanjali in yoga, which says that the yoga consists out of 8 steps. 4 of them first take your moral principles, then there is the asana and pranayama, which is about physical shapes and breath, like breath control. And then the last 4 stages, they're about meditation. the part how you can work with your mind so that you achieve the little bit higher stages of the realization. So, and what I found a little frustrating, that most of the teacher trainings, which are now run by multiple schools, they are only, or not only, but they're mainly about the asana, right? They teach you physical shapes, they touch a little bit of the rest, but you never really practice them. So they teach you how to put yourself in the right physical form, how to guide a practice, how to put these physical forms together so you can lead a yoga class. But no one really practices the other things. And they are kind of the whole juice of yoga, right? The whole juice of that practice. So I kind of was intrigued by that because I learned those in several TTCs, that there is like several stages further, but no one really talks about them. And then I thought, like, what if I just go and study them separately? And then I found those meditations that they exist. And my first, I think, dive deep in the meditation was the Vipassana. And the Vipassana retreat was recommended me by my friend. I really didn't know what would be that exactly and how it would go. My friend just told me, oh, there is this monastery in Koh Samui. If you ever go, they give you vegetarian food. You can stay for free. You don't have to speak to anyone. And I was like, amazing. I'm going. Because I was eating vegetarian, right? I was a student at the time. I didn't have a lot of money to pay. And I didn't still like to speak to too many people. I was still a little bit like introverted and scared of everyone, of the world. And so that felt like a perfect setting for me. So yeah, the next time I was able to go to Thailand, my friends stayed at the bottom, and I went to the mountain, to the monastery. It was in Koh Samui, not far from here. And that was my first meditation retreat. And that was, groundbreaking for me. Because the first time in my life, I had actually time and space to just sit with myself. Without distractions, everything is taken care of. I don't need to manage external things. So my mind can fully go inside. And I think that was the first time I met myself. Or not myself. But let's stay with this. Let's say like this, the first time I met at that stage my inner world and all the mental programming I had. That was the first encountering. And it was the first time when I realized that everything I have around myself in the world is because I first have this, which is creating what I'm experiencing externally. It was the first time when I was able to see that directly. Yeah. So I think that was a big realization.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's easier to see who you're not than to see who you are. So it becomes very clear at a certain point after so much stillness that you're not really anything you can think about or point to.
Yeah.
And it sounds like what you're describing is kind of this link between the state of your mind and your external experience of the world. Can you explain in your own perspective how that works?
Yeah. Like at that time, for example, there were certain circumstances around me, right? So I was at the time with, I think it still was my first relationship, which I was not happy with, but I was in it. I was doing some kind of jobs at the time, which I also didn't like, but I was doing them. And then there was a lot of internal still confusion about myself, who I am, not good enough, like all of these kind of bugs, yeah. And then the relationships, how they would be going with the people, I still at that time would blame a lot of external circumstances that they go in a certain way, not how I like, and then I would be angry about this or like just feeling hurt about this. So there was a lot of external reactions on what's going on and trying to fight with external things, trying to move them, to change them, to control them. Yeah, so like a lot of efforts in the external world. And then I think I realized that when the more I was looking inside of myself, I realized that there is no point to actually do anything externally because I already created it inside of myself. I'm confirming it within myself. I'm holding on those certain beliefs. So the things outside just keep arising. And if I want to get rid of something externally, I need to drop it here first. And then they're not going to arise anymore. So I don't even need to fight with them. They will just disappear. So, for example, with my partner, I think at the time, I just realized what's the conditioning which keeps me in a relationship, all those layers of fears and social conditioning that I'm a woman, I need to get married, I need to have kids. Now if we separate, I'm a bad person. And then a lot of this conditioning, which also came not even from me. It's just like there were the voices which I heard many, many times from my family, from society, from government, from him, from anything but not me. Yeah. So then I was just able to sit with myself and look at it and ask myself, what do I really want? Am I happy with this? What is my voice in all of this? And then I was just realizing that in many things I was experiencing, there was never my voice. I never was trained to raise my voice in all of those things and think what I want, because things already were like told, how they should be done. And then I think that was the time of destruction of all those voices, realizing none of them was mine. And I need to kind of crush my reality in a way. It's like scary, but then I'll be able to build it up on what I want. Yeah, on what I want to create in this reality. What do I want to experience? And it also took me time to understand it, what I actually want. But then I think there was already understanding clearly of what I don't want. So then that's why it was easy to break it all. Yeah. And I think I was still pretty young. So for me, I was like, whatever. Let's destroy it all.
It can be easier to completely reset your life when you're younger because you have less, so much, it's less built inside of you, less cemented. And it's also, there's less.
And you feel like
pressure.
you have so much time still ahead.
Yeah.
Right? There's still like, I have an entire life ahead. Even if that doesn't work, I have more time to try again. So, yeah.
But it was meditation that allowed you to see that your mind was creating a reality that you didn't really enjoy because of voices that you had confused with your own, but were not yours. They were your family's, your cultures, the conditioning that had been kind of planted inside of your mind.
For sure.
So meditation is what allowed you to see that, and then you overcame it by choosing to let it go. Was that how you would describe it?
There was just, I like this expression they have in the Vipassana, when you see, and you can't unsee. I love this one. And they say that in the practice, the only thing you need to do is to see. Yeah, the moment you see, things fall apart, right? So basically the moment when you deeply see what is yours, what is not yours, what is happening, what's the conditioning behind it, and it's like clearly for you, and you understand that's not beneficial, that's not mine. There's not even work to do. It just falls apart by itself because there is no inner intention to hold it anymore. And that's why it falls apart by itself when you can see it through. But unless you see it through, if you don't see it, then intention to drop it cannot be generated, and you will still be holding on that because it feels safe or familiar or good, beneficial maybe. Yeah, because it's not seen through. But when you're able to pierce it through and you see it, then you don't even do anything in this moment. I feel like it just drops on its own. Yeah.
A little bit of a tough question, but what would you say to people who are afraid to see because it means, at least they imagine it probably means they'll have to make some big changes in their life?
I think that there is time for everything. So I think if someone would put me in that retreat when I was maybe 2 years earlier, on a different period of my life, maybe I also would not be ready to see things and I would just go away from this meditation. But I think at some point you reach this point in your life where it feels like kind of nothing to lose. Yeah. And I feel like you reach the point in your life where to not change becomes more painful when to stay as you are. See what I mean? And I think when people reach that level, it just, again, happens. It's not like you need to force yourself into doing this. It's just the moment when realities become so painful or unbearable, to make any change already feels better than do nothing. And I think when people reach that level, this is when shift happens. That's how it happened for me when I was younger, when I was in childhood, when I could say I crashed my reality several times. And it happened exactly because I would be feeling how it is right now, it's not working anymore. It needs to die and something new has to be born. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that process of recognizing that your mind and your reality need to shift and the breaking down, as you said, in order to be rebuilt? Because inevitably there's going to be some great discomfort, some pain, some sadness, obviously fear,
grieving,
right? So this process of letting go and kind of crumbling for a moment, and then the coming back together in a higher evolved, constructed form. What does that process kind of look like for you, and what are some tips you have for people? How has it kind of been played out in your life? Do you have any insights on that?
Yeah, I think what you crush is the wrong intention structures. Yeah, so because if you would build your life and the structures around yourself with the right intentions and with the right energies, they would not create sufferings. For instance, if you work and giving out all your heart and you're generous and you're loving, then your structures would be fully created on those energies, right? And then it will bring you a lot of joy because that's the law of karma, right? What you give, this is what you're going to receive. So you build your structures in the right intentions, and then the right intentions is going to nourish you back. And then you can expand them at some point, but it's not going to be as painful. I think the structures I'm talking about is then when people with unconscious thinking, because they just don't realize things, they build their relationships or businesses or life out of the energy, for example, of fear, out of the energy of anger, of control. And the structures that they build, they feel like they're good. Yeah, for them, feels like that in the moment. But because they're built on their own energies, on the long run, they create a lot of sufferings for them and people around them. And then they see that what they were choosing in the moment was not based on like freedom and love and happiness and joy, but was based on fears and limitations and control or greed, yeah, like fears to lose something. And then over time, if those structures grow enough, they're going to start bringing suffering. And then you will ask yourself, oh, but like, why is it creating suffering? And then probably at some point, if you sit with it long enough, you will see, oh, but because the energies I put in it are wrong. And then this crumbling, it's like scary because you lose a certain foundation within yourself. You like, it still feels like you created something, right? But when you understand that now when I see this, I'm able to rebuild that thing, but with different energy, and it's going to be better, I know it. Then if you have faith in it, then it's not as scary. For example, if you were like entering a relationship just out of fear of scarcity, just because you're afraid to be alone, or I will not find someone else, or I don't like this, but it's okay, like let's allow this to happen. Yeah, so there is no energy of like, oh wow, I'm creating this energy, I'm ready to share a lot of love, a lot of happiness, let's build something beautiful together, when there is not this inspiration, but more entering out of this maybe energy of fear, agreeing on things, whatever they are. Then you can find yourself in a relationship with someone who is not actually even fitting you at all, but because you agreed from their own energies, then it creates their own structures. So when you're able to drop those structures and have a faith that next time I'm going to build my relationships, it's going to be based on honesty, it's going to be based on, like, I don't know, commitment, solidity, love, all of those things, then it's kind of easy to let go of that relationship and then to think that now I want to try differently. I don't want to maintain structure which is based on fears or greed or something else. So,
that's powerful. I hope people rewind and slow it down, because I think what you're saying is incredibly important.
Thank you.
It's almost like, just the analogy that came to my mind is your intentions create the outline of your puzzle piece in a sense. So like if you have certain intentions in place, you can't be placed in certain positions on the board of life, whatever.
Yes.
Right. So with the right intentions, you can
move yourself to the right.
And maybe not attract like that, although on some level you are aligning with the right frequency of what you want. Or it doesn't even have to be necessarily a desire that you're seeking. It can just simply be a state of being that
you want to be in.
That you want to experience.
Yeah.
And then allow life to fill in the puzzle around you as it sees fit. That's really beautiful. I couldn't agree more. So what do you often, more thoughts on that?
No,
okay.
Just breathing.
Okay, just breathing. Breathing's nice. Speaking of, I'm curious what type of people you often work with. So I know you're a teacher at a yoga school here, and I know you teach meditation, you do online classes. Do you have a particular, specific common type of clients that comes to you as a teacher?
When I teach people to be yoga teachers, we have one class about teaching, people in general. And I always remind people that most of people who come to yoga, spirituality, or meditation, they don't come because they're happy. Yeah. So many times people end up in those fields because they got stuck somewhere and they want to try to find solutions. Because if people just want to work with their body, they would go to the gym, or they would go, like to some gymnastics or work out. Or if they find like mentally, they will just go to some creative projects. But yoga and meditation are the fields where people know yoga is something about diving within because there is a crisis many times. And going to meditation is also not just the certain mental work, but because they need to deal with mind and have time and space and peace. So me and many of my friends in the certain fields, we started this journey also from this place of like pain and suffering, and we needed answers. That's why we came to this field. So I like to remind my students that when they see people come into their classes, they probably have something. Yeah, they came to this because they're experiencing something. They're going through certain challenges. So they need to be met with a lot of like opening, compassion, offering like to help. And I think if people already came to a yoga class or meditation class, that's already a great step for them because they already did something to find the solution. They already came. They already made this step. Now you just need to support them to stay there. Yeah. And I think the main thing what these people do, they give themselves time. Yeah, because many times nowadays I feel like people are so busy. They wake up, they think about their husband, about their children, about the work, tasks, colleagues, so many responsibilities around. So you need to make everyone happy and you need to kind of give love to everyone. And then like what I faced with on my Vipassana many years ago is then when you sit with yourself, you have no idea who you are, what you want, and then you get depleted. Yeah. So I think the main, it's not just for the people who first come to my yoga classes or in general. For me, it's always about coming back to your center. And from the center, staying in it, resting in it, finding it. And then from the center, feeling what's next. What do I want now? What is where my energy wants to go, where it wants to move. And I think it's about centering and it's about surrendering, to drop in the controlling mind and allowing things to come. Yeah, because I believe that things that are really nice and great and meant to you, they're not something that you force out of your mind. You just sit with this at some point and things just come and you just see them. And it comes with lightness and with ease. And I think all the beautiful miracles and the most beautiful moments in life, they are not forced, they come. Like when you meet like a partner, they just come to you at one point, right? When job opportunities, they just come to you. When you have an idea, it just comes to you. You're not forcing it out. So I think that's one of the things is just to find time for yourself, just being with yourself, being in your center, relaxing, and allowing things to come. I would say these are the main three things I'm also practicing by myself and I want people to feel when they come.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's such a, in one way or another, it sounds like exactly what you would want your friend to do or your partner or your child. You would love to tell them, look, relax, trust, surrender.
Yeah.
Things will flow. I love what you said about lightness and ease. I think it's important to give actual qualities to that state of centeredness.
Yeah.
Because it isn't a state of anxiety or anxious control. It's if you feel that, you're not there. So the compass is, am I at ease? Is there lightness in my body, in my mind?
Yeah.
But as much as we love to give that type of advice, I think it is quite difficult in the moment of your pain and the suffering that you're going through to enter that. Because we have this need, this compulsive desire to control things and change things and make them, fix things. So is that something that you also help people learn to do? Is this like a one-off class, or do you have kind of a program or a step-by-step process that you teach people for not just experiencing this in a 60 or 90-minute session, but also integrating it into their day-to-day life?
Yeah, I like the way of teaching because sometimes people can stay only for one class, right? And some people can kind of participate in something longer. But the way I love teaching is like teaching without really giving direct teachings. Yeah. So the way, for example, out of the first class, you will do something, you will not even fully understand what you've really done, but you will feel something. And for me, this is the way of teaching. when you come out of the class and you feel like shift, something happened, and it feels like a magic and you didn't even realize what happened. So I think with the teacher, when they teach, the nice way is the transmission of like certain energy. That's why I was telling you that for me, in order to teach yoga, it felt very important first to have this content within me. Yeah. So I feel like many people, when they come to my classes, it's also the feedback that I receive, is that they just feel, depending on which energy I'm channeling is the wrong word, but I'm containing in that day, I can deliver that. So for example, if I would feel happy, that's the energy that they would feel. If I feel grounded, they would feel grounded and relaxed. Because when I'm teaching, I'm like giving and they're open to me and they're receiving. So yeah, if that would be like a group class, then I would just probably come and sense what's needed for the group. And if I can attune to this, I would just stay with that. And if that would be a certain group, or if that would be a particular person, I would just see what they need. Because everyone is, like you said, in a different stage of life. Some people in a little bit more peaceful zone and they just want more progress on the spiritual path. Or some are really in a deep suffering and they would need a different process, because first they need to be able to process where they are and then already go further. It's like different stages. So that would depend on where the person is and where they want to go. Like everywhere, right? So I need to see that.
So there is an option for them to continue working with you one-on-one? Like multiple programs.
Yeah. Cool. Sometimes I'm running some group classes where I just gather people for the certain topics, like in certain marathons, for example, for like 2-3 weeks, and then we go through something. And if it resonates for people, like the last one I did, it was called Energize. So it was about creating more energy in the body and able to do more and achieve more. And then I think I had about 30 people, so they join and then they're together, we go through a certain journey. I like those because I really like to work with groups. I think I prefer that more than working individually, because it feels like, first of all, I just can reach more people at the same moment. And then people who are in those retreats or like journeys, they are so supportive to each other. And it's nice because they share their journey and another person supports them. Another person comes in saying, oh yeah, I also had that. So groups feel very dynamic and I love to see several processes going together and supporting each other. So I love that. But then, of course, if there is like an individual request, we could also work with that specifically.
For people booking online classes with you, what does that actually look like? What's a class structure, and are there things that people need if they're learning yoga with you or meditation? Like, what does it actually look like?
Yeah, I think it depends on which class we're taking, whether that's yoga or about meditation. So with the yoga class, we'll still be highly focusing on asana, on the physical body. And for these, people would need to have some basics like yoga mat, blocks, props, pillows, so that they can support themselves. And then we'll try to go and reach what their goal is through the physical body more. Yeah, so feeling things through the body and moving through the body. Whereas meditation is not so much about the body, it's more like we're going directly through the mind. So if people don't want, for example, do it through the movement or like some somatic experience, we can work more directly through the mind, some special mental techniques on what the mental qualities they can develop to help them overcome what they're going through.
Wow. So you have sort of a structure with meditation where you give maybe like some theory and some like practice, like theoretical stuff, and then you apply it through.
So we did it like in a groups where I would be like sharing certain things about the meditation, and then we would meditate like on a certain quality. Yeah, what we talked about, and we would meditate on development of that quality. But if it's one specific person, then it would be just again a little bit more tailored to what they need, because maybe their willpower is very strong. They're already very strong and they can achieve and they can be perseverant, but they cannot drop things and they cannot drop control. Right. So then it would be a little bit more working on one aspect of the mind, less than the other.
Wow. Cool. All right. I'm going to ask some random last rapid fire questions.
Whatever. Yes.
So what is one healthy habit that you never go a day without doing?
Yoga. Honestly, since the moment I did my yoga, I think probably after even maybe, I don't remember, but like maybe the first class that I've done or couple of times that I've done, like I can swear to you, there is not even one morning in my life where I don't do yoga. Like it's every day. Whether I'm teaching other people, sometimes I just have morning classes when I don't have time to practice myself. But if my day is free, it's like a lot of yoga. So it's a lot of, for me, both physically, like feels like if I'm not doing yoga, your body feels just like very stiff and uncomfortable, like, you know, like you brush your teeth, otherwise they feel dirty. For me, it feels like if I don't do yoga, body just feels like like old person or something. I don't know, stiff and uncomfortable and dirty also in a way inside. And then also mind, because when I practice, it's like a lot of like mental focuses in different places. So I feel my mind, when I practice, I gather it together in one place, and then I can direct it better way I need to direct it during the day. So yeah, for me, it's my practice forever.
That's powerful. So you would say, I love that analogy. Yoga is like brushing your teeth for your body,
Yeah.
meditation for your mind.
Yeah.
I like that. Just daily hygiene.
Yeah.
The energy levels.
I had once sadhana. You know what sadhana? It's like a teacher. Basically, I worked with some heavy mental states at the time through yoga, and I had a teacher at the time, and he said you need like the like kind of sadhana, like a practice that you continuously commit to do, and you do it in order to purify your mental like impurities. And he told me that for 6 months, half a year, every day, no matter what, no matter how I feel, no matter how I'm dying in the morning, whatever happens to me, I need to wake up and do 12 circles of the sun salutation. You see, so it's like the practice, yogic practice of salutation, salutes to the sun. And that was taking about 12 circles, take about 20 minutes every morning. And yeah, I've done it for 6 months. And wow, I was facing a lot of heavy mental states because there was a lot of like, you know, many things my mind was telling me. But when you take the sadhana, you kind of need to commit to that. And if you fail one day, it breaks. So you should start it over again. So I was like, no, I'm going to do it because for me, it was interesting to make this challenge. And every time I would like struggle with me, fight with myself in the morning. And then I do this practice. And after 20 minutes, I feel blessed. And I feel, wow, that's crazy how in 20 minutes, my mind transforms from so much like annoyed critic to always like, life is amazing. And so basically, I think that practice built up this consistency within me, because after I finished that sadhana, I'm like, I want to keep doing it. I don't want to drop it because it became such a part of my life. My body feels great. My mind feels amazing. Why would I drop that now? Because it already became a big habit. So basically, yeah, since then I never dropped it. Well, my practice transformed, but I'm still doing it.
Well, you've sold me. I want to start doing that now too. So, what was I going to ask? It's tough to like maintain a little mental note of what I want to say, but then stay present while you're talking. Because I'm not listening if I'm thinking about what I want to say.
Yeah,
Anyways,
that's good. That's okay.
Next question. You ready? Actually, you just answered that one. What's your favorite vice?
Vice.
Bad habit.
Cakes.
Cakes. What's your favorite type of cake?
Honey cake.
Honey cake.
Yeah, that's the Russian thing. I think it's like my thing because it reminds me so much of like home. And it's something that I would be having so much with my family together. And it's not just like something like physically, which like nourishes my tongue, but it's more like, I don't know, the warmth, the feeling, like the connection to the memory, how in my country we were doing it together with my family. So I would say I take it when I'm emotionally challenged, like, and I feel like I want a quick fix. Then I would go and get this cake, and it would just, it's like kind of sugar at one point, but on the other hand, it reminds me of those kind of warm times that I had with my family, and it feels like settling down a little bit. Yeah.
I have a question about that. How do you draw the line between some healthy comforting through food versus overcompensating and coping with emotions? Because I think there's a lot of people that struggle with finding that balance of, okay, it's okay to give, the inner child in me or something, the honey cake at once. But how do you find the balance between that overconsumption?
Yeah, I think I understand what you're talking about, because to a certain point, like food was my comfort. Like I would get my emotional satisfaction out of food. And I think the relationship with it changed a lot when I did my 7 days fasting. So I was just on water and I had no food at all. And I could see those patterns that every time when I would get emotionally like not comfortable, something would be off. first thought would be go get that cake or go get that sweet or go get that chocolate 7-Eleven. And I would be like, oh, wow, like I have this strong impulse in my body, but now I cannot do it because I'm fasting. And then I would have to sit with that emotion because nothing else, I cannot like stop it now. I'm not eating. And it was great because the first time to that degree, at that time, I realized that I never actually stayed with that emotion before because I would just be like, feeling uncomfortable, putting something in my mouth directly. And at that time when I was fasting, I also was so weak, I couldn't even go anywhere. So I kind of had to sit with this and see like, what's that about? And then I would notice, oh, that's because this and this and this. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I kind of deal with this instead of just going eating the cakes. What if I just work with that? Because it's there all the time. So maybe I should do something about these deep patterns which behind. And I think the line is, what's the intention when you do that? Yeah, if that makes sense. Because, for example, I can tell now, if I'm feeling happy and satisfied with life, I don't even think so much about what I'm like eating. In a way, like, yeah, my diet is healthy. I'm not eating like specific products. But I would not have a need like to eat something to feel better because I would be already so satisfied that I would just eat because I know I need to eat, but it would not be emotionally charged. And the line, I think, when you eat just because, okay, it's here, I can eat it and I will enjoy it. I can also not eat it and I'll be fine because it's not the main thing. But I think if the food becomes the source of happiness because you can't deal with certain emotions and it helps you to process those emotions, or not process, suppress those emotions, then it can become a bad habit. Because if you're continuously doing it, then it becomes a habit, right? Instead of sitting and dealing with emotion to just kind of transforming it through sugar and suppressing it, then I think it becomes, what's the intention behind it? Again.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think a shift happened for me recently where you always hear about letting go, letting go of, fears or worries or your attachments or let it go. But unless you really know what that means on the internal level, because it's just fingers pointing to the moon, like what does that actually mean? How does that mechanism operate inside of me to let something go? The idea, it kind of becomes this action. It's something to do now. I hear this uncomfortable emotion is, let it go. I have to let it.
No, it will not work like that.
You're holding on to it with your own thoughts.
Even more.
You have to, so this has been popularized for years now, but the phrase, let it be, that is where a shift happened for me.
This is where you let go.
That's because you're not trying to let it go.
Yeah.
You're simply letting it be. Saying, okay, this is how I feel.
Yeah.
You can stay here. Here this emotion is, all right, let it be. And that allows this kind of wall of resistance to melt. And then all of a sudden there's just space and it can flow and then eventually it just evaporates. And next thing you know, it's not there anymore. And can you relate to that?
It reminded me when I recently practiced with my teacher, he was saying also, okay, now you need to let go. And then one guy asked him a question, I try to let go so hard that I cannot let go. So basically, instead of, like you said, instead of just actually letting go, then there is another thing appears on the top, I need to let go. And then it's not letting go, it's actually creating more tension. Yeah, so it's not letting go and builds up the tension on the top. So I would agree with you that letting go starts first with relaxing in what is. Yeah, allowing what is just to be there fully and see what's, again, when you see, and then just things transform. When they're seen fully till the end, there is nothing else for them to do but to change. So that's like you said.
So would you say your primary role or duty as a teacher of yoga and meditation is to help people see?
Yeah, just to be and see. I think that's to slow down also. That's something which I also focus a lot because I think for you, in order to see certain things, mind is very much like this nowadays, right? Many tasks. You need to fulfill like millions of tasks per day. So mind is very fast. And for you to see deeply, you need to slow it down a little bit. And that's why I like yoga and meditation practices. They're slowing down. So your mind can like reverse and start looking and seeing everything. And I would say that's also one of my tasks, trying to slow down people, because there are many, many elements in it, but ultimately, yes.
And find that lightness, that ease of center, and the surrendered state of trust.
Yeah, there are many elements in it. It's hard just, to describe them with words, because you like train each of them separately, and then somehow they come together and they give you the whole experience. All right. But ultimately, yes, it's like about being attentive and seeing things.
Beautiful. Well, Kira, I really appreciate you taking some time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure for me also to share. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're truly a phenomenal teacher.
Oh,
There's not many people that I hear speak so precise on these kind of deep topics with zero ego. And it's very clear that you genuinely see and understand. And
I have a little bit of ego. I'm still Kira. Yeah? No. Okay.
Well, it bypassed my ego filter. But yeah, I really respect you. And I'm glad that you are one of our practitioners here at Wellme. And if we have time for a second episode, I definitely would love to have you back.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.